Somewhere in Asia, there is always a story no one wants to be the first to tell. I'll go first. Welcome back. I'm Gala, and tonight we go somewhere dark. They tell you home is sanctuary, the place the world cannot touch you, where you finally exhale. What they omit is this: sanctuary demands maintenance. Walls need tending, thresholds need watching. And when you pour enough fear into four walls, enough ritual, enough whispered bargains with gods who may or may not be listening, enough guilt that has never once been named aloud, the walls do not simply contain it, they metabolize it. The place that once sheltered you develops appetite. This is not a metaphor. This is architecture. Tonight, we enter a 3-story house in southern Taiwan, where 6 people did not lose their minds so much as surrender them, willingly, devotedly, with the full conviction of the converted, to something that had no intention of giving them back. They struck one another with ancestral tablets and wooden sticks. They pressed lit incense directly into skin. They force-fed each other filth. They drank urine. And when it was over, when the last act of devotion had been performed, they sat together in that room, calm, patient, certain, waiting for their daughter's body to rise. It did not. They believed they were saving each other, not destroying, saving. Their certainty was total, structural, load-bearing. They built an entire world inside that house and inhabited it completely. And that certainty, not the violence, not the death, but the absolute, unshakable certainty, is where the real horror lives. This is one of the most disturbing documented cases in Taiwanese history. The true story that became the basis for the film Incantation. Now, close your eyes, steady your breath. Follow me into an April alley in southern Taiwan, the kind of place that does not release its visitors. It only misplaces them for a while. April in Taiwan falls somewhere between spring and summer, when temperatures climb past 30 degrees Celsius. It is a heavy, blurred season. The gentleness of spring gives way slowly, reluctantly, to thicker heat. Some days feel mild, others turn oppressive without warning. The kind of weather that leaves people restless and irritable without quite knowing why. In the south, the air does not move. It clings. It carries humidity like a held breath, a tension the body registers before the mind does. If you walked down one ordinary alley in Kaohsiung's Gushan district that April, you might have thought everything was fine. Pink cassia blossoms swaying in the sea breeze, petals falling like soft rain, giving this coastal city an almost romantic stillness. But inside one apartment along that same alley, the season had stopped. Every window, every crack, sealed beneath layers of black plastic. No light entered. Time barely existed. The air inside was thick, almost tangible. A suffocating odor, unplaceable, tangled with the heavy sweetness of burnt incense. The floor was darkened with dried blood, enough to make the room feel unreal. Behind that sealed threshold, a young woman lay still on a blackened mattress. She looked small. She was 28. Her body had already begun to change, fading into a dark, hollow outline of who she once was. What stays with me is not the decay, it is the marks. Her skin was covered in small circular burns, dense, repeated, deliberate, as though someone had been carefully writing onto her body in a language only they could read. The doctors confirmed she had been gone for 2 days. Her stomach contained no food, only residue and water. She had starved in a room full of people who loved her. Slowly, over weeks, her body had surrendered, piece by piece, until there was almost nothing left. It was as though she had erased herself from the inside out. And yet, there were no restraints, no rope, no tape, no evidence she had ever screamed or tried to run. She stayed, not trapped, waiting. The room grew quiet in a way that no longer felt like a crime scene. It felt like something had been believed there, deeply enough and long enough to become real. Who was she? And what did she believe would happen if she just kept waiting? You can move cities. You can change your name. You can build an entirely new life from nothing. But the past does not forget you. It whispers your debts until they become unbearable. It remembers where you are, and eventually it comes back. Gushan, Kaohsiung, Southern Taiwan, 1995. A 3-story house in the middle of the city, indistinguishable from any other. Inside lived the Wu family. 6 people, working class, unremarkable by every outward measure. The parents worked labor jobs from dawn to dusk. 2 younger sisters worked exhausting night shifts as nurses. The youngest brother worked at a printing press. But the air inside the house was always thick, smoky, cloying, heavy with the smell of burning incense. Against one wall stood an altar. It never went cold. Fresh fruit was replaced before it could spoil. Cups of tea sat in a row, intended for the spirits, never to be touched by the living. The family made no significant decision without first consulting the gods. Their lives revolved around ritual, endlessly invoking deities for protection, prosperity, and peace. The Wu house was not simply a home. It was a sanctuary for the unseen. But the eldest daughter, Jin, was different. She was the only one who had left. In Chinese, Jin means gold, precious, valuable, the shining hope destined to lift the whole family out of struggle. Nu simply means daughter. Her name reminded her every day what she was supposed to be, the golden child, the one who saves everyone else. Even so, she left. She left the incense clouds, the rituals, the weight of expectation. She went north to Taipei, a city of neon lights, endless movement, and the sweet anonymity that only a large city can offer. There, she opened a small 24-hour convenience store with her fiancé. Long hours, sore feet, a relentless stream of customers. But she loved it. The hum of the refrigerators, the pale fluorescent glow. It felt more real, more grounding than any candle she had ever watched burn. For the first time, she was not a vessel. No gods dictated her choices. No incense burned before she decided what to eat or who to love. She was simply a woman in love, sharing warm tea eggs with the man who made her smile, building something that was genuinely hers. It was her world, small, ordinary, entirely her own. Then the phone rang. Her younger sister, voice cracking, nearly frantic. "Big sister, the third prince came to me. He said you're in danger. If you don't come home right now, you're going to die." Jin laughed it off, said it was a dream. People dream strange things. That does not make them true. But her mother did not agree. She did not wait. She took the overnight train north and arrived the following morning. Eyes bloodshot, body rigid with unshakable conviction. "You have to come back," she told her daughter. "The gods have spoken. You cannot ignore this." Jin argued. She pleaded. She showed her mother the life she had built. But in this culture, there is something heavier than any argument: filial piety, xiao. It is not simply respect for one's parents. It is an ancient debt, the belief that a child owes their very body and existence to those who gave it. To disobey is not merely stubbornness. It is to be ungrateful, unfilial, cursed by your own blood. It is taught so early and so completely that the chains by adulthood can feel impossible to break. So Jin gave in. Just a few days, she told herself. Just long enough to calm the spirits, finish the rituals, and then I'll come back. She looked around her store one last time. Everything she had fought for, everything she had made. She kissed her fiancé goodbye beneath the harsh white fluorescent lights, locked the door, walked away. She did not know that goodbye was permanent. The 5-hour journey south felt like a passage into a different world. Neon Taipei dissolved into dark highways cutting through mountains. Jin drifted in and out of sleep, her little store glowing, a white dress, a small voice calling her mama for the first time. She was dreaming of a life already slipping through her fingers. She woke at the dining table of her family home. The house of shadows. No warm welcome, no meal waiting, only the thick smell of incense, candles guttering in the heat, and her family watching her as though she had already become a stranger. The house became a prison almost immediately. Doors were locked, curtains drawn. They confined her and began an endless cycle of exorcisms. Jin started having nightmares, violent, sexual, unrelenting. She stopped sleeping at night, closing her eyes only fitfully during the day. Her body began to fail. Dark circles, trembling hands, a voice growing quieter by the day. The golden daughter, the one whose name meant precious, the one they had always expected to save them, was withering in plain sight. Then a call came. No one knows who or what was on the other end. But when Jin set down the phone, the woman who had built a life in Taipei was gone. She declared she was possessed. In front of her family, she began to hurt herself, slapping her own face hard enough to bruise, punching her thighs until they swelled. The family watched, and they believed they were seeing a demon raging inside her, not their daughter coming apart. In desperation, they took her and themselves to a religious retreat deep in the mountains. 2 days of intense ritual. More chanting, more isolation, more prayer. When they descended again, something had broken. The demon had not left Jin. It had spread. The moment they stepped back into the house, reality began to collapse. They were no longer trying to save Jin alone. One by one, the parents, the sisters, the brother, all became convinced the gods were speaking through them directly. The nightmare was no longer inside one person's mind. It lived in the walls. They accused each other, turned on each other. The house that had once smelled like home became something else entirely. A sealed space where logic had been extinguished and only belief remained. For the next 30 days, the 3-story house in Gushan was no longer a family home. It was severed. A pocket cut loose from the real world, sealed from daylight, from neighbors, from reason. No supernatural force had crossed the threshold. Only ordinary people dismantling each other in the name of the divine. At first, Jinn was the primary target. They were certain she was the most severely possessed. The golden daughter, now the most dangerous vessel. Every day they struck her with wooden sticks. Not to harm her, they believed, but to shatter the demon's shell, to drive out the evil. You can almost hear the rhythm of it, the pause, the listening, the decision to hit harder, interpreting her suffering as evidence it was working. They forbade her solid food, allowed only water and 4 hours of sleep each night. Her body wasted fast, cheeks hollow, eyes receding into dark sockets. But in their logic, this was purification. The thinner she became, the cleaner. By the second week, possession had spread to all 6 family members. Each now claimed to be inhabited by a different ancient deity. To purify themselves, they stopped eating entirely. Real food, they believed, was contaminated by evil. For a full month, they survived solely on talisman water, the ash of burnt spirit papers dissolved in water. Nothing else. No rice, no vegetables, only that bitter gray sludge consumed in the dark. The rituals deepened. Every window was sealed with black plastic to block the light. Yellow talismans were plastered over every door. They moved through the house in complete darkness, dressed head to toe in black clothing, believing the color would absorb the negative energy leaching from their skin. In that darkness, all remaining reason collapsed. They began smearing each other with feces and urine, spreading it, splashing it, at times force-feeding it, convinced that demons were repelled by filth and would flee an unclean body. They no longer saw family members. They saw enemies in a holy war. They struck each other with ancestral tablets. They pressed lit incense sticks directly into skin until it sizzled, until the smell of charred flesh merged with everything else already in the air. They felt no pain, only fury, desperate, blind, and utterly convinced it was sacred. The stench of Gushan. Salt and rice were scattered across every surface to trap spirits, but they mixed with sweat, blood, and waste. The smell accumulated over weeks, seeping beneath the door, turning the surrounding air sour and dense. Neighbors heard the screaming. They saw the blacked-out windows, like dead eyes in a familiar face. They smelled it drifting down the street. No one knocked. No one called the police. There was an unspoken rule in Gushan: do not interfere with religious practice. And so, behind that iron door, an entire family descended into ruin, together, unseen and completely unstopped. By April 9, 2005, Jin's body had nothing left to surrender. Over a month of starvation, barely any water, sustained trauma, burns layered over bruises, infection creeping inward, bacterial encephalitis likely, given everything her body had been subjected to. She collapsed that night, foaming at the mouth, limbs rigid, frozen mid-scream. One of her sisters, a nurse trained in emergency care, attempted CPR, chest compressions, rescue breaths. 1 minute. When no miracle arrived, she stopped. They did not call an ambulance, did not attempt to carry her to a hospital. They left her in the dark to undergo divine transformation. The demon was finally dying. Not Jin, never Jin. In their understanding, her soul had merely stepped away. If they guarded the body and kept faith, she would return, purified, restored, resurrected. Jin remained 28. No wedding beneath Taipei lights. No child's first word. No growing old beside the man who shared tea eggs with her in the early hours of the morning. Only 28. Sealed inside that house, surrounded by the family who had loved her, and the belief that had consumed them all. For 2 days after Jin stopped breathing, her body remained where it had fallen. No one moved her. No one called for help. The family stood watch as though she were in a sacred sleep, waiting for Resurrection Sunday, waiting for her soul to return purified, waiting for the miracle they had paid for in blood and starvation and ash. They believed the demon had died, not their daughter, never their golden girl. But reality has its own insistence. The smell of decay, thick, biological, undeniable, merged with salt and rice and waste and burnt flesh until even their certainty could not contain it. The second sister, Mei Hung, the nurse, finally looked at the body, truly looked, blackened, skeletal, covered in bruises and burns, sunken eyes, hollow cheeks. Something shifted. She whispered, "Big sister isn't coming back." That afternoon, April 11th, 2005, the father, Wu Yun, emerged from the house for the first time in over a month, haggard, emaciated, blinking in the daylight. He went to a neighbor and asked her to call an ambulance. Then he turned and walked back inside. No explanation, no attempt to accompany his daughter, no money for treatment. The neighbor entered the house. The living room floor was scattered with excrement, salt, and rice, the residue of a month of ritual. The air was thick and sour and unbreathable. And on the bed, Jin lay dead. Her body was a record of everything that had been done to her. The neighbor froze, then ran. The autopsy confirmed what the room had already suggested. Her mouth, esophagus, and stomach were filled with feces, the result of weeks of forced ritual. Starvation, severe infection, multiple organ failure. She had been gone long before anyone outside those walls knew to look. The family did not come to the hospital to claim her body. They left Jin alone one final time. When police located the family and informed them that Jin was dead, their responses were nearly identical, word for word. Jin didn't die. It was the demon inside her that died. They sat across from officers. They maintained eye contact. They meant it completely. During interrogation, the 5 surviving members appeared composed on the surface, calm voices, coherent answers. But their bodies were covered in the same bruises, the same incense burns, the same evidence of a month-long war conducted inside a sealed house. As they spoke, the full account emerged. Self-harm, mutual beatings, collective starvation, all performed in service of something only they could see. The prosecution was unequivocal. The family was charged with abandonment resulting in death, a serious crime under Taiwanese law, carrying the possibility of a life sentence. Superstition, they argued, did not dissolve the duty of care. Jin had been visibly dying in front of people who called her family. Then, the psychiatric evaluation arrived. The diagnosis: shared psychotic disorder, folie à plusieurs. The term is French. It means literally madness of many. It describes a phenomenon in which a delusional belief system, originating in one person, spreads to others in close proximity, particularly within isolated, emotionally dependent groups. It does not require weakness of mind. It does not require cruelty of intent. It requires only the right conditions: confinement, dependency, and the complete absence of any outside voice capable of saying, "This is not real." Remove those corrective forces, and belief does not simply persist. It proliferates. It becomes the only available grammar for understanding the world. The Wu family had been sealed inside that house for over a month. No neighbors, no doctors, no dissenting perspective of any kind. 6 people, all drawing from the same deteriorating framework of meaning, each one confirming the other's reality until the delusion became indistinguishable from fact. The court ruled that at the time of the offenses, the family had lost the capacity to distinguish reality from belief. They had genuinely understood themselves to be performing a sacred exorcism. The medical examiner noted further that the beatings were not the direct cause of death. Starvation, infection, and organ failure were. The Wu family was acquitted, not guilty by reason of insanity. In the grip of shared madness, the court found, they could not distinguish right from wrong. They were ordered to undergo mandatory psychiatric treatment. And that is where the record ends. Not with punishment, not with resolution, but with a diagnosis. A clinical term for what happens when belief becomes sealed off from everything that might have interrupted it. Folie à plusieurs, a madness shared by many. As though, given the right conditions, the right walls, the right closed doors, the right silence from the street outside, any of us might find our way there. When the room grows quiet tonight and the light feels slightly dimmer than it did before, that is normal. Some places only begin to exist once you know they are there. Sleep well. Gala will be here when you come back.